Welcome to session 2. How's everybody doing? Good. We'd like to welcome all of our folks that are streaming with us. And what a treat we have to have Brenton Brown's rhythm section, also known as the Worship Republic. Yes, we've got Ben Showalter on drums, Daniel Ornellas on bass. These guys have not only played with Brenton Brown, but a whole bunch of other artists that you know of, including they played with Gungor, they've played with Tim Hughes, and well, Daniel's with the band that you might have heard of called Tree 63. So anyway, we're privileged to have you guys with us. They're going to teach us how to play some bass and drums together, building a strong foundation. Give it up for Daniel Ornellas and Ben Showalter.
Thanks. So we're just playing around, but what do you think we were doing that whole time? Really, what's the main thing we were doing right there? What does it take to work off each other? Sure. Yeah, we're using these, right? Using our ears. We're just listening to each other. And whenever he picked up a new groove, I kind of went with him. Whenever I changed it up a little bit, he went with me. So really what we're doing the whole time is listening to each other.
Yeah. We never ever rehearsed any of that stuff. We just I was just listening to what Ben was doing, picked up something that I'd like to try and play along with and see if we could follow each other. And I guess the trick here is listening to each other to create a groove. It's like being married almost. If you don't listen to your wife, you're in trouble. Basically, the biggest mistake we tend to see in church bands, if we go and play somewhere, or if we visit a church, is that the guys on stage are so worried that they're not going to be able to do what they've got to do as an individual, that they concentrate so heavily on what they've got to bring, that they forget to listen to the other guy. And this is particularly a big deal for bass and drums, because, you really need to work together to create a rhythm section, which is bass and drums as one instrument. Bass on its own sounds terrible. Drums on its own doesn't sound like a great thing. I'm lending him melody, and he's lending me punch for my bass track. And I guess that's what we're here to share with mainly today, is how to listen to each other, how to play tight, and how to create dynamics and build a foundation so that the rest of your band can have something to play on top of.
Yeah, so we're listening to each other. We're playing. We're sort of matching what each other's playing as far as rhythms go. You don't always have to say, I'm going to play exactly what he's playing. I'm going to stick to every note he plays. If Daniel was playing something very syncopated, he might play something crazy. Now, if I tried to play every single one of those rhythmic notes that he's playing, it's going to scramble my brain. So I'm going to pick out some... Not about being complicated. I'm just picking the notes that kind of stick out in the idea that he's playing and trying to emphasize and support that. Maybe I'm not always playing the kick drum with him. I might be a snare drum, but the rhythm is there. So kind of, keep that in mind when you're getting in with, the band. And I mean, I'm listening to what Brenton plays, obviously, so I know where he's at in the song, but really, this guy is the one I'm listening to, because I want to make sure, what he's doing and what I'm doing are creating that cushion for everything else to sit on.
Yeah, and so what this workshop is called is building a landscape, and the way we try to explain the building of a song is to try and imagine looking at a landscape of like a view of a picture where there's valleys and mountains and rivers and that whole thing. Often when we go and watch a band that's either really starting out, or they're kind of weekend warriors and they just get together, they hardly ever play together, you find that they either play at 10 the whole time, or else they play at 3 the whole time. They never really have any real dynamics, and it's like driving through Kansas when you're listening to them, Like the band, sometimes the guys will feel, if I don't play full taps, this thing's going to fall apart, so I'm going to give it all my all, And other times, guys are a bit more timid, so they think, I'm not going to stick out, so I'm just going to play this. And it's kind of, there's no landscape there, there's no valleys and mountains. And to create a landscape in a song, you need to be able to use 3 different things. One of them is the parts that you actually play. And then the dynamics has got 2 different parts. You've got the actual building of the dynamics using more instruments. Like if I lay out for a verse, and I come in, that automatically causes a rise. That creates some kind of a little mountain or a little peak into where we're going. So Brenton plays by himself from the beginning, and then I'll come in. That lifts the song into another little phase. And then if I drop out for the second verse and come back in again, I'm building another mountain. I've gone into a valley and I'm building this landscape that's interesting. The same way with the drums. And then you've got dynamics of volume, of actually how physically loud you strike your instrument. Sometimes we play super soft like... That's kind of something that people forget about, that you actually have the ability, excuse me, not only to play different parts, but the same part can be so dynamic and so different and create such a different mood or such a different feeling within a song, building these valleys and these mountains to create an interesting landscape for people that are there. And what we're really trying to do is lead people in worship and to get them involved. And you can draw them in by creating interest in the music. So if you're a bass player, for example, sometimes it's really cool to just let the drummer play a verse by himself. You don't have to always be playing. In the same way with drums, he could drop out and I can continue to play, like big single notes or even a little groove, whatever it is, or 10th notes or whatever you want to play. So we're going to use this example of a song called Beautiful One. It's a good time to say that another really critical mistake we often see is that guys play different patterns for verses and different patterns for choruses. We kind of try and build something where there's form, where your verses are all the same, your choruses are all the same, and your pre-chorus or your outro is the same, or your intro and your outro is the same, so you're creating stability within the song. If you're getting bored of the same beat, that means you've played it through the verse and the first chorus. All of a sudden you change it up in the next verse, and you keep that going for a verse and a chorus. That's kind of weird. And that's a typical mistake, is that guys will have a groove that they play for ages and ages into the song, and then suddenly they go, this is boring, and they change it like this, like way into the middle of the song. And what we're going to show you with this Tim Hughes song that we used to play with him is that they've built a cool little arrangement where the beginning has got this feel that's like a Coldplay clocks kind of, that feel. Let's give them a quick example of that.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So we use that's like Coldplay. Have you ever heard that band? That's pretty much what you're going to hear. And a lot of people use that in worship now. And the way that I'm joining Ben on that is I'm playing eighth notes. But instead of just playing straight eighth notes, I'm emphasizing his groove by going. So I'm not sticking with his kick drum pattern. What I'm actually doing is playing his whole groove that he's playing on the kit, using my bass by playing eighth notes, but emphasizing the groove using the bass. So this first part of the song is like the intro. It's got that feel. Then it goes right down to single note parts for the verse. Then the chorus comes up to a groove. And then right at the end, they use the same groove again as the intro. So I'll play that for you real quick. Going into the chorus. How glorious, how beautiful you are. Beautiful one, I love you. Beautiful one, I adore. Beautiful one, so much. So that's the verse and the chorus. So if you notice what I played in the verse, we're playing these thundering eighth notes, and then all of a sudden I go into big single notes. And there's no shame in playing long single notes on the bass, man. That's ministry right there. It's actually awesome. And often we'll go to a church and I'll see someone playing, and I'll be like some little girl playing the bass or something. I'm, man, you're great. How long have you been playing? 2 weeks. I'm like, whoa. And that's because she's just shooting for that root note, and she's just hoping to make it to the next one. And she's, oh, beautiful one, I love, beautiful one. And she's like, oh, that's an A. And then comes an A, and then it's a D. Oh, and she's there, right? And she's great. It sounds great for the music. She's providing a good foundation for the guitarists and all the other rhythm stuff that's going on. And then you get her like three months later, I'll go visit the church, and she's going. Because she's learned something like that, and she's just chucking it into every song. And you go, so she'd have to sit down for 15 years and then come back on stage when she's learned all full circle that those single notes actually are great, you know. There's no shame there. So that song starts like that, and then the chorus goes, beautiful one. So I'm playing exactly with the kick drum. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. This is a good time to say that if you can learn to count music, it's awesome. So you break it down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and 1 eanda, 2 eanda, 3 eanda, 4 eanda. If you can count like that, you're in a good start because you can work out where those notes fall, or where those kick drum patterns fall. And he can tell me it's on the 1 and the 3 and immediately we know what it is. So communicating through counting is really cool. And then the chorus, and then it goes to the outro again, right here. So you notice at the end, the outro is the same as the intro, and that's the only time those two things happen. But they've kind of kept a bookend. They've bookended their arrangement, so it sounds like cool at the beginning. You got the same part as at the end. Then everything in the middle, the verses sound the same. You know, there might be a little bit more of a groove in the second verse, and the second chorus might be a little bit more up, and you might be playing eighth notes instead of let's play the chorus. Oh. Beautiful one, I love. So I'm still playing the groove, but I'm playing full eighth notes to give it a bit more punch. So I'm going. See, you can feel those eighth notes, but I'm still emphasizing that groove that I played in the first chorus. But I'm not going. I'm going. So it's just there's ways to take things up a notch and to build a landscape that's interesting. Ben, you want to talk about Hosanna?
Yeah. Well, real quickly, I want to just touch on something you were saying there. When I think of sections of songs and grooves, and this isn't true for every song you'll play, but I like to think of the basic beat like as a skeleton, okay? You've got your basic beat, which is this. Okay? Now, for me, as long as I'm keeping that idea in there, I can add and take away little bits of the kit. So if, you know, to keep some interest in the verses, even though I'm just playing 1 on the kick drum and 2 and 4 on the snare, I might change the hi-hat part up just to create some kind of, you know, interest in the part. 1, so that I don't get bored, but also just because I might hear something in the vocal line that, you know, rhythmically I feel like I want to emphasize just a little bit. So, you know, it could be anything from, you know, from changing the hi-hat to maybe adding some kick drum parts. So still pretty interesting, even though I'm playing a simple beat, right? And you know, in the chorus of that song, let's play it real quick. 1, 2, beautiful one. So I'm keeping the general idea there, but kind of being creative with the part, you know. And I won't play the same thing every measure or every 2 measures. You know, I'll change it up a little bit here and there. Now, going back to the landscape idea, the song Hosanna, you know, typically when I think of a song, I think of intro, verse, chorus, turnaround, verse, chorus, bridge. Something interesting about some of the Hillsong tunes, they don't follow that landscape at all. Does anyone know what happens before I say anything about it? You all know the song Hosanna?
On Hosanna or Mighty to Save, there's exactly the same kind of landscape, if you want to call it that. Anyone know what that is?
Drops right down. Yeah,
the chorus
it's
drops
the
right down.
quietest part of the song, right? I mean, that first chorus, there's nothing there but vocals and some pads, you know.
So you start off the first part of Hosanna. You know, if you look at most of Brenton's songs, I don't even have to worry about which song we're playing next because most of the time he starts it. So I'm like, oh, we're playing that song. Here I come. Doing, and I'm like, you know, there's very few songs I play with Brenton besides Glorious and 1 or 2 others where we all come in, boom, on the top. And so he builds in that kind of way. He builds in like from scratch up. But like, say, for example, this Hosanna song, it starts with drums. No acoustic guitars, no bass, nothing. So give us a... Keep going, keep going. The bass is playing like 16ths, ding, 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 okay? And so if you listen to it, though, when it gets to the chorus, they've built it up, and in order for them to go anywhere after that, because it started pretty high up, they think, okay, let's drop away completely for the chorus, and then we've got somewhere to start from again and create a new dynamic. So this is the beginning of that song. And there's a bit... No drums, bass, but no drums. Here's Mighty to Save. Here we go. So they've got exactly the same scheme or landscape. You can do that with pretty much any song if you want to, just for fun. If you want to turn around a song, we could do like Everlasting God like that. Our God, you reign forever. There we go. You are the everlasting God. You know, just for fun. The everlasting God. You could do the first chorus like that if you wanted to. So think of an idea. Take these other arrangement ideas. They look like, and you could actually do a little graph if you want to of how these things look. And we've done that before. We used to have slideshows we used to show people in these workshops where you actually look at it. It goes, starts at about 2, then it goes up to 4, it goes massively up to 10, and then all of a sudden it goes back down to 1, and it goes like that. And you can look at how these songs are formed and how they look, and you can apply this to some of the songs that you feel you're bored of playing in church. You're like, oh, that one again, gee. And instead of playing a reggae version of it, which no one's going to like, you know, no one's going to love the everlasting God. Yeah, hey, God. You know, that might not go down well with everybody. Maybe it will, but often people want to feel comfortable in church, and the way they feel comfortable is recognizing a song for what it sounds like on the version they've got. And the era we live in now is that everybody has access to worship music that they can purchase, they can buy, and listen to in their car, which is kind of not how it used to be in hymns days. You know, the hymns, they were what they were. But nowadays, you put a CD of Chris Tomlin and you hear Everlasting God on there, and you got Lincoln Brewster's version, which is very fast version, and then Chris Tomlin and Brenton's version on his first record are super slow. So whatever your congregation feels the most comfortable with, if they know that Chris Tomlin version, try and stick to it as close as you can, just for interest's sake, to get them to the, I know this song. I love this song. I feel comfortable now. I'm going to worship. That's what we shoot for, you know, is to create an environment where people feel comfortable. We're ushering them. We're not trying to rock their faces off. We're trying to get them to feel comfortable in church so that they can sing to the Lord. That's what our job is. So sticking with the original groove of the record, we wouldn't get hired to play with these guys if we changed the arrangements of what they did on their records. They give us their CD, like Michael Ganga and all these guys we've played with, and I go and I chart out that record and I learn the parts exactly like they are. I don't go, well, I'm an individual and I'd like to improvise here, because I just will never get hired again. Because that guy wants to play, and he wants it to sound like his band sounded on the record, you know. Unless he says to me, we're going to do it a bit differently, and why don't you try this? But that's his call, not mine. So if you're feeling frustrated in church because you don't like playing the arrangements that your church wants to play, then start a band somewhere else that plays the kind of music you want to play outside of church. If you're into prog rock, then don't bring that into Sunday morning service. Like, you know, that just doesn't really make everyone feel great. And you might even have a drummer that's really new. It's like, yeah, so I think that makes people feel safe.
Yeah, and along with that, it helps to have a good vocabulary of songs. Listen to as much stuff as you can, because, you know, that Tim Hughes song had the idea of clocks. A couple of times we played with Vicki Beeching, and she does blessed be your name. And she says, I want this to be clocks. And so if you don't know the song Clocks or that rhythm idea, you're going to be lost. If someone says, I want this song to sound like, We Are the Champions. Do you know that song? Anybody?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. It's helpful to just listen to everything. And when I first started playing drums as a kid, I was listening to the drums. I was into the drums, and that's all I listened to. But when I really started to realize, why is this guy playing this? And and you start picking out the patterns of, the bass or maybe the rhythm guitar. And you kind of see why this is happening. Listen to the other instruments when you're listening to songs, and just see, kind of what's happening there. Expand your mind to get off just your instrument and learn what the relationship between the two, or sometimes when we're playing with Brenton, he might play just a little figure on the acoustic. Everlasting God, he does something there where he does a kind of a diamond, and I always accent it, but it doesn't take away from what I'm doing with Daniel. I'm still playing the groove. I'm just doing a splash here or there, to kind of enforce someone else's part.
Yeah, and that's a great thing to know. Like, there's always gaps which you can feel there's a place for a fill. And I've seen drummers that take every one of those gaps that exist, Even if they're not there, they make one. Like, and I'm like, whoa. But the sad part is that bass is it's a bottom-end instrument, and it's obviously often not that super loud in the front of house, and especially in church. So if you do something, a little finesse move, if there's a tom fill over it, you'll never hear it. And that's we're communicating with each other and letting each other know, hey, why don't you take this gap? It's kind of like preferring each other, So why don't you take this gap and play something there? I'll do the other fill later on when it's kind of bigger or whatever it is. And if you also play something like, there's a song, Your Love Is Amazing, it goes,
2, 3.
I can't remember the song.
Sing it. Sing it and you'll know.
How's the chorus go? This is Brenton's song.
We play this every week.
Every week. Who knows that song? Your Love Is Amazing? What's the chorus? Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. There's a little thing that I play at the end of that first chorus. Okay, so it goes, hallelujah, 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 your love makes me sing. And he goes, so he's going, da, da, da. So I go, he goes,
1, 2, 3, 4.
So he knows I'm going to do that now, and he remembers it, and he goes, goof, 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 and that lends punch to what I'm doing, And that's cool. In the same way, like if I play another riff, so I'm going. So that sounds quite loud. You can't really hear it. Okay, so. You could play a fill over that. So.
Yeah.
Or something like that to emphasize that fill. And there's an Everlasting God we play.
Yeah, there's a few in there.
So he does a big crash, and I play a big old low note there. And it's something we've come up with over the years of playing together. You can find those little neat things that you guys can do together to create a vibe.
Normally what happens is I hear Daniel do something cool, like, one of those bass lines, and if I notice it the first time, the next time we play the song, I'll listen to see if he does it again. And if he does it again, I know that he's going to keep doing it. So that's kind of where the Your Love Is Amazing thing came from. I heard it, the first couple of times we played together, I heard him play that riff, and I was like, I love that. I don't want to play something. Let's play it again, and I'll just ruin it for him, okay? 1, 2. Hallelujah. takes away from what he's doing, you
And
know.
you just see me going. That's all you get from me, because you're not going to hear anything.
You know, as a drummer, you know, normally we've always got opportunities to do a fill, you know, from, you know, to mark the transition from a verse to a chorus, or a chorus back to, you know, a turnaround or intro, whatever. I mean, we've got a whole song to play fills, you know, so I don't ever feel like I have to do stuff all the time, you know. There's always, you know, you should always, like Daniel was saying, prefer each other, prefer others, because they're going to do something cool too that adds to the song. So I'm always listening to the other guys to see, oh, he stepped out a little bit there, and I love that, you know. I don't want to just throw paint all over it, you know. I just want to look at this. This is great.
Yeah, it's kind of like showcasing each other in the band a little bit, see the different parts, right? Yeah, it's the same with guitars, you know. Sometimes Scotty will play something kind of finesse, and we got to back off, you know. And if we want to try and do a build, one of the nice build things we do is like do the 4-tom snare drum build. It's like you can start it, you're playing a song and sorry, my Sharona. No, anyway, so that's a kind of build that's kind of cool for a bass drum. And if you notice, we both start soft and we build this thing up. It's kind of cool. So they can be very long builds. You can do them slow. You can even start at the beginning of a song. You know, the band starting like singing a really straightforward song, like "Blessed be the name of this." Name of the Lord, blessed be your name. You just do a slow build.
Huh?
Do a slow build, a tom build.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Blessed be your glorious name. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your name. Blessed be your name. So kind of these ideas, these little build ideas can even be used as a part of your arrangement, not just like a fill, right? I'm going to play you a song that we heard. We were driving in the car together once, just before we did Brenton's last record. And this is what inspired us to do a different groove that didn't start on one. Most kick drum patterns and bass patterns start on the one, right? It's like go, 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 or like go, 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 whatever. It usually starts on the one. So we were listening to this song by Jonathan Brooke. Count, see 2,
3, 4. 1.
It's actually a 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So that's kind of cool. And we thought, hey, we should try that in a song. If there's a song that lends itself towards that. And we found this. We started recording this song. The groove there wasn't starting on 1. It's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. So that's kind of like, it's not a straightforward groove, but it's kind of fun, and it stops things being just kind of super boring. Eventually, you're just playing always the same old. Yeah, so any questions about any of that stuff we've said so far? Anything you guys want to ask yet? Look who's coming with the mic. Amazing. No questions yet? Anything you want to hear from us as a rhythm section? Yeah?
So when the bass and the drum player get together, I mean, do you guys get together outside of rehearsals just to work on those kinds of things? Do you do it in the context of the band leader? Can you speak to a team who gets together Wednesday nights and they just work through the songs, and then Sunday mornings to do it at church in the morning? You find time outside of that? How does what you guys are doing to work together to find those kinds of little things you're adding and working together, explain that in the context of a weekly team who's meeting Wednesday nights and Sunday mornings to rehearse?
Great question. We've all worked with those kind of teams. I grew up as a pastor's son in South Africa, so I primarily played in church. That's how I learned how to play. I grew up in a church playing crazy R&B style worship music, which was the thing back then, like Lift Him Up and all that stuff. Ron Canoli, the Don, Ron the Don Canoli playing. So it was full arrangements. And you had to know those songs super well, because they'd turn to me and make me do the Abel Boreal bass solo, like. You remember that bass solo, anyone? Anyway, I had to learn all that stuff because the lead worshiper would go, play the bass solo, and I'd be like, I better know that. And somehow, worship teams have drifted away from listening to the music that they actually play. Someone will give them a chord chart, and because it's pretty straightforward, like a Matt Redman song, they go, we can play this. So they just give them a song, and the acoustic guitarist can say, this is how it goes, and then you just play it. But a lot of people don't take the time to listen to the original version of the song. So for us, if you have a context in your mind of where you're going with this thing, because you've all listened to the song, that to me is such a helpful thing, because you're all coming from different musical backgrounds. So how are you going to ever play together in a way that gels properly if you don't really even have a starting point of what that song is supposed to sound like? And if you just think, I'm a great musician, I can improvise, we've seen a few of those in a couple of churches we've been to. There's one guy who's like a not Joe Satriani. What's the guy? The guy that plays Santana. He's like a Santana guy, and he wails like that on every worship song. And I was like, I can't bear it. I wanted to dart him like that, I can say it. Just to take him out for one song would have been a pleasure. But so the thing about it is knowing your context, knowing your worship leader, saying, look, and having the vocabulary as a leader to be able to explain to the rhythm section what kind of thing you're looking for. Because if you don't have that vocabulary, you're just going to go, don't do what you're doing. That's not right. Instead of saying, hey, why don't you play a kind of like a with or without you groove, like you two, and then they go, I know what you're talking about. It's like, and then okay, so I understand where you're going. So as a lead worshiper, you can actually tell the band and the rhythm section where you're headed. As far as us being able to play parts together, you definitely need to get together on those songs on your own if you want to create your own individual parts. If you want to play the stuff that's on the record, if you both go away and you learn exactly what the guys played on the record and you come and play them, those parts will be there already. They're built into the song from the record. And just on this subject, if you're listening to say for example, a Chris Tomlin song, just look how few fills there are and how few bass lines they do that are different from the straightforward groove. Or any of Brenton's stuff, it's not because I can't play anything more that's why I played what I played. It's because that's what the song wanted in order for it to be accessible to people. So if you get bored of playing the version of it that you heard on the Chris Tomlin record and you decide, I'm going to improvise, you're taking away from what it should sound like. Because I know those guys, all those players, it's not because they can't play more that they didn't play that. It's because they're actually reserving themselves for the song, to play the song the way the song wants to be played. Does that make sense to you guys? And if you're feeling frustrated because you want to play more, then, like I said, have a jam session after church when everyone's left, or start a different band. Does that answer your question or not really? Okay.
One of the difficulties at our church is I'm listening with an in-ear monitor, and the bass that's coming through is coming off the board. It doesn't even sound like bass. It sounds like a little rubber band twanging. Have you ever heard that kind of a scenario?
Yeah.
How do you overcome that so you can actually really hear and feel what the bass player is doing when you're a drummer in that kind of a situation?
So you're the drummer, right?
I'm in plexiglass, so I mean, it's,
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I mean, one of the things, depending on what in-ears you got, some in-ears, like I've got some sets of in-ears that sound so bad I can hardly hear my bass. Others, like my West tones, they sound super warm, and the bass sounds like it does coming out of the amp. I'm stoked. So that's the one thought. The other thing is, depending on how the bass player has actually set himself up, if he's got an amp over here, and he's got a direct box, and he's going to his amp, if his amp's super bassy, then he's going to set up his guitar to be very trebly to combat that. And so he could be playing with a bass tone that's coming out of the amp sounds good to him, but what's going to the front of house through the direct box is super trebly. And if it's going to front of house and then coming to you, your front of house engineer might be trying to cut bass out of his signal because there's already so much bass coming off the stage. That's a massive problem. So you're getting the signal after he's mixed it, and he's trying to cut back on actual bass frequency because the bass amp's too loud on stage. I mean, bass amps are they're so loud in a room, they just eat up the space, and they're so omnidirectional, they bounce off the back wall, there's no way to shield it. If you turn an amp around and face you, it's not going to make that much difference. Bass is just going to travel out of the back of the amp, and those frequencies don't die on the back wall, they bounce off the back wall. Big waves, they're just bouncing. And same as the whole band, listening through your wedges, everything that hits that back wall, only the bass frequencies come shooting back. All the treble dies once it hits so you're not hearing clarity, all you're hearing is mud and low end. So the trick could be to see if he plays without a bass amp. And is he on Avion as well? He's listening to Avion, the bass player. No, is the bass player using in-ears? Okay, and is he using an amp too? Okay, so what you're hearing is the mics, whatever's going to the board, it has no body, it has no tone.
So when I'm playing drums behind him, it actually sounds like he's just twanging on a rubber band. I can't
I understand
get any bottom or anything.
Now that could be a playing thing too. If he's kind of not very technically good, he could be hitting the frets a lot or hitting the pickups, and that sounds kind of clangy. But if it's just actually the tone.
The tone, yeah.
So it's a tone problem.
There's no bottom.
Yeah. Then I use a Sans amp direct box, which is kind of like having an amp. Sans amp means no amp, and that's my pedal right there. So I know that the tone that comes out of this, which is going from here to front of house, should sound like the tone that I want to come out of my amp anyway. And I can play without an amp. I can turn that off, and I can still sound like, if I turn the amp, it probably might even sound better in here. Like you can hear. Have you got sound there? It's a whole tone, And I mean, I've done shows before where I've actually had the amp super soft in a venue, done the sound check, turned the amp off, went and played the whole show, turned around to turn my bass amp off, and it's actually never been on. Because I've got such good in-ears, and I didn't even notice that it wasn't on, and I was kind of out in front, like with Brent, and I'm standing out there singing. And so you don't have to have a super amount of bass in the room, especially if you've got in-ears. If you can live without a bass amp, you probably find your front of house guy will be happy. Am I right? Yeah, I mean, you don't really need that. Unless you've got a tiny little PA system that's got no body to it, you want to reinforce it with the bass amp so that there's some bass in the room. But if you've got a good sound system with subs, they'd be much happier. The less bass you give them, the better. So, and then you can also hear yourself what you're hearing instead of listening to your amp as well as your in-ears. Does that make sense? Is that helpful?
Depends also, I don't know how you guys set up, on the stage. At our church, I'm behind the plexiglass as well. But our bass player is set up right here to my left, and it's open right here. So he's got his amp there, and even though that might not be what he's feeding to front of house, I can still hear the amp and what I'm getting from the Avion. That helps sometimes.
Yeah, cool.
I wanted to kind of say something to his question earlier about working with, a bass player and a drummer, and how do you get some of this stuff to work. I get to play at my church maybe once every 2 or 3 months just because we play so much. That's an advantage that we have together, is that we're playing together all the time. So I can almost read his mind before he does it, It's kind of unfair.
What am I thinking?
That's not nice to think, Daniel.
What am I thinking? Oh, sorry.
But in church, there's a rotation of maybe 4 or 5 bass players that I get to play with, over the course of, a year. And going back to that Tim Hughes song, on that verse, it's got the one on the kick drum, and that's it. And sometimes if I don't know the bass player that well, I'll start a song that way and play very simply and just kind of hear what kind of groove he's going to play. And then I'll pick up, his rhythm, and then I'll kind of flow along with it. Now at our church, I've gotten used to some of the guys that I play with. So, if I know the song, going back to saying, you need to listen to the song and know the basic form of it, I can play the form, and if I hear the bass player do something that I like, that I'm not playing with him all the time, but I hear something, when we get done running that song once or twice, I'll say, hey, in the first verse you did this kind of figure. Are you going to do that again? And he'll say yes. I'll mark it on my chart, and that's it. I won't. From when we rehearse on Thursday to Sunday morning, I might not remember that, but since it's on my chart, no problems, and we do another run through Sunday morning. I don't know how you guys do your rehearsals, but we typically do a Thursday night and then one run through before Sunday morning. So kind of iron out some of the kinks, on Sunday morning. If he didn't play that again, I'd say, do you remember you played that thing in the verse last Thursday? You're going to do that again? He's like, oh yeah, I forgot. He marks it in his chart, So really communicate, when, you get done running a song, say, hey, did you feel like that verse was working for you? Yes, no, maybe. Okay, well, let's figure out how to fix it, or let's make sure we know that that's what we're going to do, and you write it down on your chart. Charts are a, huge, huge help. I mean, especially if you're playing with new guys every week, and, the form may change. You got to have something to kind of keep it fresh in your mind.
Yeah, and another thing on that is always trying to play within about 80% of your ability, not stretched out at 110% of the drummer's ability. If you've got two different levels of skill and one guy's just going for it, you're stretching that poor bass player can't keep the same kind of groove as you, or he's trying to follow along. That's not really serving each other. You want to be able to try, and if you've got someone that's really a beginner bass player, as a drummer, you want to just play a very straightforward thing so it just sounds great. You don't have to be proficiently, crazy, dynamically good to be able to play in a worship band. You just have to play what the song requires. And sometimes the lowest common denominator actually sounds the best. Especially if you're trying to lead people, encourage people into worship, the most laid back, simple. So when you're considering your arrangement for your church, think about this first. Think about, who are we trying to play this for? If you imagine your dad, who doesn't like music, standing at the back of the church with a cup of coffee, and you're asking him, come, sing with us. He never sings either. That's the guy you got to keep in mind when you're making your arrangement together. Like, is this going to work for that guy? And then secondly, you want to consider the worship leader, and say, is this working for you? Do you feel comfortable? Do you feel like this is easy to sing along with what we're playing? Because if you do a crazy groove that's weird, you might be throwing him off all the time. And if he's not a super A-type, he's not going to say, guys, that's not working for him. He might just go, the whole way through the song and hate his life. So consider him, and also just say, how do you feel about this groove? We've come up with this idea. What do you think of it? And let them have the final say, especially if they've got to lead the song. And then the third part is considering the song. Does the song actually want this groove, or are we trying to force it on the song? Because you really want to serve the song as best you can. And that's why, sometimes we always end up on the same arrangement. There's songs like, what's the one that Balash wrote with Brown?
There's a few of those.
It's about 30 of those. No, there's one that we play, Because of Your Love.
Because of Your Love, yeah.
We used to play Brenton's version of it, and now we've kind of started to play Paul's version because it's a little bit more up. It's a little bit more... and then there's the other song we played really big, Our God Saves. Our version's like rock and roll. And we've actually started really enjoying Paul's version. Playing it, starting it really kind of more U2 kind of feel to it. So we'll play that sometimes that way, just so that it fits into the set better, coming off the back end of another song. And then once again, if you're wanting to tie songs together, like if you're making a set list and you've got 3 or 4 songs in a row, and they're all in the same tempo and they're all in the same key, then try and build them as one massive picture instead of just thinking we're going to go from this into that and then to this and we're going to do this with that. And it's disjointed sometimes. You're trying to create a big, beautiful landscape out of a whole worship set. Think of it that way sometimes as a rhythm section. Think, what song have we got first? We've got this one. So we don't want to start that one on full taps if we wanted this one to be the biggest one. Like, look at which song is going to be the biggest kind of dynamic peak of your picture. And say, okay, we've got to work backwards from there. So this one's got to be like that. And the more you back off, the more bigger that other song is going to sound. Because once you're at 10, you're pretty much at 10. You can't go anywhere from there. So we've got 10 minutes left. I'd love, any of you guys want to come and play? You guys, drummers, bass players? Yeah? If there's a bass player that would like to come and follow Ben as he plays different little grooves, do you want to do that? Anyone interested? Yeah? Yeah, come. Are you a bass player? Drummer? Okay, you want to come and play a little bit? Okay. All right, well, we just wanted to give you guys the opportunity if you wanted to play, but let's see if there's any other questions that we have. You want to play? Yeah, come play bass. Bass, yes, sir. Awesome. So what we're going to do, these guys don't know each other. I promise you, this is not a magic trick. We'll see. There we go. You might need to take a strap up. How hard do you play? Do you play picks or fingers? Okay, cool. There's a pick if you want. Okay. Yeah, sure. Okay, so what we're going to watch now is these guys don't know each other. Is see if he can follow Ben, or if you'd like, you can start a groove and Ben can play along. It's up to you. Let's see. Have you got volume there yet?
You click them off.
There we go. There we go. All right. What's your name?
Nate.
Everyone give Nate a hand.
You want me to start? You want to start? You want to go? Or you want me to go? Okay.
Yes.
That was pretty good, man. Good job.
Nate, right? It's Nate, right? Yeah. So Nate was listening because as soon as Ben took it down softer, he played dynamically softer. And that took us somewhere. Didn't you feel like it did? I was out there. I was in the mode right there. I almost lost my ears. You want to try a different groove, one other groove? You got something else you want to start on? Or are you good? I'm liking it. Anyone else want to play? Any other bass players? Come on, man. Come on. Are you a bass player? Awesome. And your name? Daniel. Good name. He's in the zone. We got stereo Daniels right here. If I had another bass, it would be double trouble.
Show me what you got.
All right. So Dan's going to play. Do you want to start the groove or do you want him to? Okay.
Did you want to play?
No, I don't want to play drums.
Get
Is there
off the
another drummer?
kit.
Is there another drummer that wants to play?
Come on, nobody?
Okay, let's just go with Ben for now, and if you want to replace him with another drummer, you can come up on the side over here. Dan the man. Rock and roll, bro. Who's next? Come on. Yes, sir. Who's that, a bass player? Very cool. Seems like there's some dudes out here that want to play bass. That's awesome, bro. Yeah, what's your name? Bailey. Daniel, good to meet you, mate. There you go. Hopefully it's the right length. Not enough strings. He's like a 12 stringer. He's like, that's awesome. Okay, and what's your name? James. Everyone give James a hand. So let's see. You want to play a groove and he's going to follow you, or do you want to start? Either one can start. Bring it up. Yeah. Good job, bro. Well done, man. Awesome. Bro, good job. Good job. Yes, sir. Good job, bro.
Good job.
That is so great. Man, that is awesome. Good job, dude. He's tearing it up. That's a cool roll. That's awesome.
Daniel sings that one a lot in the car.
I do sing it. So, yeah, man. So the cool part is the more you played with him, the more he'd know that you're going to do that kind of triplet to triple. He'd start to feel that you're going to do that full. And he might play. And then you're creating, he's lending a lot of melody to that fill. And so if you guys just play together listening to each other, you'll have great rhythm sections and you'll create a good bed of foundation for your band and for your worship leader. Thank you guys. Can we pray real quick? Father God, I just thank you for this blessing that we get, that we're able to play music and do it in church and to bring honor to you, Lord God. Thank you that we'll be good listeners, Father. Help us to listen to each other, to the other players in the band, and just to bring honor to you through our playing. And to serve the church and to serve the worship leader and to serve each other in this thing called music. We're so grateful for this in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you, guys. Awesome. Thank you for coming out.